Welcome. Doing a live chat here and doing just a test run of this KSP2. See how well it works with the new video card. I got a 3060 the other day. Upgrade from my 1650, so see how it works. Go for a launch and just do a trial run. Since at night we'll zoom ahead to the start of the next day. Oh, a little faster there. There we go. That should be good. Okay. Did the original KSP1. This craft was one of the news they used as benchmark in the game. They had a lower count build of the same rocket, so they could test high end and low end. And they carried it over on the KSP2. It's good for benchmarking your computers. budget-oriented person here, so I do my best with what I got. It works for me. Okay, so let's do. Let's go warp here, and then we're gonna do. Deorbital burn. And we're going to try to land it just off the KS. Okay, here we go. Whoop. Retrograde. Go prograde. We need to go retrograde. Retrograde to lower your orbit. Prograde to raise your orbit. There we go. Now we're lowering our orbit. There's a sweet spot right in this area here. Oh. Too far. Let's go time warp here. Go prograde and see if we push that out of it. Raise our orbit a little bit to the middle of the ocean. Now we're gonna time warp here and try to go retrograde again. We'll do a little less power, got a little more control. Oh, I see what's going on. I don't have enough high enough altitude here to be able to do that burn, so we'll just make it what it is.
You're live on YouTube, aren't you?
Yes, I am.
I was there a little bit ago and it crashed.
You crashed?
Good afternoon, my friend.
How are you doing, buddy?
How are any space enthusiasts today?
They are hyped. They are
And-
absolutely hyped.
Right? And just like the moment we've been waiting for 2 years, Paul. I'm still getting goosebumps from it, man.
Yep.
Totally. Wow, looks beautiful, the game now.
Well, I had a little adventure yesterday, and I went and got myself a new video card.
So you're sending me the old one?
Actually, you know what? I'm considering it.
Dude, you know what Pete told me to do 2 years ago was to actually redo the thermal paste on my graphic card.
Yeah.
Well, actually, it helped. It helped a lot. I just did it like 2-3 days ago.
Yeah.
And yeah, the heat transfer is doing very much better. But the problem at this point is further out than just my, the deal will be a new PC.
Yeah. Well, I picked up an RTX 3060.
Oh, those are good.
And 12 gigs of video RAM, stupid amounts of power. If anything higher than that, then you're going into the 4070s. Or 4030s, I think it is. 4030.
And what was you had before? Your old one was super good too. You had like, what, 8 gig of VRAM, right?
Yeah, it was 1650. It was no slouch. It would run the game. You'd have to run it at a lower resolution, but it would run the game. But this right here, this is full res. Like, you can't.
That's why it looks so beautiful compared to before.
Yeah, and it's smooth.
Yeah, but I mean, like your rocket's not wobbling. So right now, what you're re-entering the atmosphere? Where's your altitude, there, boy?
I am at
16,000 feet.
Yeah.
You're quite high for opening your
I'm looking at the sky. I'm pulling.
Look at that shoot. That's cool.
I'm clipping at 53 to 60 frames per second. I look at the surface.
20 to 30. Yeah.
Yeah. I was getting 12 before, so I'm not going to cry about that at all.
So I want to know, Mr. Altered Paul, Please tell me, what is your impression about the launch yesterday?
Well, it was absolutely fantastic. I I said for the longest time that they're going to need to put a flame diverter in there, and Starship made its own flame diverter,
Did it dug a hole, eh?
dug a hole.
It made a crater in Boca Chica, literally. Like that's the first time I see a crater from something leaving the ground
Yeah, not hitting the ground.
instead of hitting it.
Exactly.
That's a matter of perspective, and I'm a guy of perspective, right? So that was just like when I saw the first picture about that hole, I was like, wow,
Yeah,
just
I was shocked, dismayed, and was I upset when that they had to do a rut on it? No, I wasn't. I was impressed. Like it lost what 6 or 7 motors it lost on the way up, and it was
when it
still
started spinning, I was expecting it to break apart,
yeah, it didn't though.
and it like because think about it at the altitude it was, and at the flight profile we were into. The booster, it was the very first flight of a said booster.
Yeah,
So the whole thing, yes, was the full time they tested it, but nobody's really speaking that it was the first time we flew a booster. And the reason is the booster needs to have a starship on top. Otherwise, like what you put a nose cone,
yeah,
like it doesn't make sense because then you don't have the weight and you don't have the proper data
yeah, or the balance
on
of
this.
that.
Right. So, no, I was like, the booster performed for his first flight amazingly. And I really was, I had a few, like I'm a metal guy, right? So I had a few fears, let's just say, about, like the autogenous system and all. And then when I started looking at it spinning, I'm like, and then I saw the RCS, trying to keep that thing, from spinning. We're trying hard, really hard. And I'm like, wow. And it just, like, you can see that it blew up, the FTS blew up on the booster and then on Starship because you had two quite different explosions.
Yeah, and the fact
Uh,
that it was pretty much flying sideways
Oh,
at almost Mach 2, and it held together, and only lost like 7 heat tiles.
and when you look at the stream properly and you see when it spins and it's like it starts falling down, right? It reached apogee and then starts falling down.
Yeah,
Well, it's my assumption anyway, but you can see the airflow, right? Like
yeah.
how fast it's going. You can see, like the plasma, like the airflow create around it, and that tells you that it's going through a lot of G-force
That
in
plus the
every
structural
direction.
pressure on the side of the craft.
Yeah. So I mean, like the booster can fly sideways with a fully loaded starship on top.
Yep, exactly.
I mean, for people that think that this was a failure, oh, it started spinning, they lost control. Whoa, 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 wait a second. They had to terminate it manually. Like,
Yep.
or I don't like they had to terminate it, like it
It
blew
was
it
it
up
was it
because
was it was not going to break up. It was going to lie
no.
there at its
And
own.
I think that's what they were waiting for. That's why we saw it spin for so long. What do you think?
I think they were trying to see if they can get it pulled back around, or they're going to lose another couple motors, which would have balanced it back out, or shut down a couple of motors. But they figured at that point in time, they didn't have the time to shut down the motors to bring it back because it was too far off center line of its
Yeah.
trajectory. And if they could have got it back, they could have continued to burn, or even shut down the booster prematurely, and did a stage set.
Well, if Miko would have happened, that it could have then have stage separation, but the engine never shut off. Some of the
Exactly.
engine never shut off, so you can't because of the always, like positive pressure on from the booster. You can have stage separation. It'll just hit Starship.
Yeah, I think the loss of the engines was one of the contributing factors. I think it took out one of the COPV tanks, and then they lost pressure to hydraulics.
Well, Yeah, I think all of this was caused because Starship dug a hole on his way up.
Yeah. But who are we to know, eh? We're redneck rocketeers, right?
We're just some Canadian guys, right? We don't even have a spaceport in Canada. What do we know,
Speaking of Canadian and spaceports,
right?
um, CTV was had an interview about concerning that launch, and they had Chris Hadfield on there.
Yeah, I was
And
about to watch that.
you watch that?
I was about to eventually
Yeah,
sometime today or tomorrow.
yeah. Well,
This is my YouTube.
like they're the interviewer was basically saying it was a failure and stuff like that, and Chris Hadfield goes, no, 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 no. That was amazing. They, that couldn't have gone any better than what it did. There was so much data collected just on that first flight. They were happy if it just cleared the tower,
It did.
and it did that very well. They had a
I
little
was on
power slide, but
Twitter.
it did it.
Yeah, I was on Twitter and I saw someone says, SpaceX rocket exploded during flight. Lucky it was on man. And I'm like, wow, like what a clickbait. Like Lucky was on man. Like, and then you see a couple comments below. This was a test flight. It wasn't supposed to be manned. There's no luck in this.
Exactly.
The luck was that it didn't blow up at launch, at ignition. That was the luck. And that's this from an outsider point of view or, a hater point of view, for example, without putting etiquette on anybody, but they will always phrase things to make it look bad. But if you actually make your own research, you will realize that this was, in my opinion, everything about it was a success. Beside the really great volcanic eruption that happened underneath the OLF.
And the reverse eruption, yes.
A reversed eruption, literally.
The I was going back after that and watching the feeds, and I seen Lab Padre's camera. Oh, that poor
Just
guy. He took a beating.
cleared. He got cleared of debris, eh? Like yeah, his 180 cam, the window got smashed on the vehicle, but really there was his both of his cameras still running, which you got mainly a lot of other YouTubers and their camera just gone. Angry Astronaut got knocked off. I don't know about EDA. I know that. Well, we all saw what happened to Maria's van.
Yeah,
I looking at the VR cam from Lampadre because I couldn't resist but became a member again to watch it. Looking at the intensity of how things went flying.
did you see the palm tree? It looked like it was in a hurricane.
Everything looked like it was like if you look on even Rover 2, the rocks were falling from like a minute after.
Yeah,
It fell for a long time. I
yeah.
mean, like think about it. The plume underneath Starship, underneath the booster. I mean, how long was it?
Oh, it was there for a good like
It
eight
was
nine seconds.
yeah, but the plume underneath was almost as twice as long as the whole thing.
Yeah,
And how far from the ground is it?
probably 60 feet,
The
and it dug
flame
and
went
it dug another 60 feet down into the ground.
look properly on the launch, you can see flame coming back up before it lifted off. In the smoke, you can literally see flame coming down the side of the booster.
Yeah, that was just craziness, absolute craziness. Even Hoppy got hit, put a big dent in the side of Hoppy.
Everything.
The tank farm got hit.
There's so much little piece of concrete that everything does micro damage. Like there was pieces of rock. There was like right before it even lifted off, you had pieces in the water. in the
Yep.
ocean.
Yeah, they I don't know. It was historic. I'll have to say. You'll never see another launch like that ever again, unless they one
Nope.
up themselves again.
I was actually watching it with a friend of mine. She's 21 years old from Michigan, and it was her very first rocket launch ever.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Her and her boyfriend has actually never saw a rocket launch. I'm like, well, you're in for a treat there,
Yeah.
because that's the biggest rocket that mankind ever launched that you're about to see.
Yeah. They were. I think I'd say there's a 50-50 chance it won't even get off the launch pad. Did you know before they hit the button to fire the motors, the thing was already unlocked from the OALM for 15 seconds, just sitting there by itself?
What?
The latches were, the hold down locks were unlocked for 15 seconds prior to launch.
Really?
Thank God there wasn't a great heavy crosswind, eh? Well, just the sheer weight of it would have held it in place. But
Well, I mean, you don't want to wait till the last second to release the clamp. You don't want till the engines are on to release the clamp, because that puts too much positive pressure on the clamp, and then they cannot move sideways on.
yeah,
That's one thing, like as a welder, I know, like you cannot, like you want less pressure on your clamps before you release them, unless they are released by upward pressure. You know what I mean? So that means they would have to need a system that when Starship actually lifts up, but then, it removes the purpose of holding it down.
yeah,
You know what I mean? So they would need like a kind of a dual system where you have a pin, that locks off, on and off your system. Oh man, I was so stressed yesterday, and I watched the laundry, and you know what I had in my hand, right? That
yeah.
piece of S11, and
Exactly.
my hands were so sweaty. I think it started to rust. No, just kidding.
I was in Costco with my wife shopping. I was at the cash register watching this all go down. I was like, right on the edge of my seat the whole entire time. Everybody's looking at me with like I got like three eyes in my head or something like that. But that was worth it.
Man, I would have said to my wife, "I'm sorry, we're waiting in the car for until it's lunch."
And I should have stayed out there in the car. Yes.
I was like, I screamed so much for 2 minutes. I was almost like every time I was almost scared that the cops were gonna show up. Or at least you got a flame diverter.
Too bad it's an animated flame diverter. It's not a true flame diverter. You can have an ion motor on there. It'll produce that same amount of smoke. Ooh, I don't have much control. Bring up our control settings. There we go. Now we got some control authority.
Oh yeah, you can extend that.
Yeah, you're going to give Dustin control authority on the heavy on one
Let's get backwards, huh?
side. Gotta get the low grade mark there.
Well, you're not really going fast for the height you are. What's your TWR there?
I have no clue. I never even bothered looking. Threw it together and hit the button. What happened?
You are at 3,000 LV.
I know we're not going to
LT TWR.
Doesn't happen.
Where's your mech jab, yo?
He is in behind this guy's seat right here.
13 inches behind the screen, huh? 20 inches.
I was thinking, speaking of TSP-1, I was thinking about building the exact same rockets, TSP-1, TSP-2, and two of them
Yeah, that'll be interesting. Without all the mods and all.
Yeah. I can even do one bone stock. Both two videos of both PSPs being bone stock versus get back here.
Where you going? Where you going, man? Come on.
Come on, get back over on the program. Never mind. It's on the prograde marker now. This thing will actually might hit orbit. That ever look nice, eh?
Yeah.
I was having a talk with another YouTuber there last night, and they were discussing about the hits and misses with it versus KSP1 and stuff like that, just bouncing back and forth. And I told him my own reflection on KSP2 is they spent a whole lot. They should have the time they would have spent on making things look pretty versus making things function. It should be a balance in between the two, and there wasn't enough of a balance.
It looks too pretty for the functionality.
Yeah. Like I can look at that curve and it looks fabulous. But if you're flying a pool noodle all the way up there, or it's falling apart on the launch pad because the physics aren't right. It was built to look pretty, not work pretty.
And now they got to work on it.
Now they got a big catch-up game to play now. All right, let's turn and burn and see what we can get out of her.
So how's living in your city right now? A lot of people on strike.
Yes.
Pretty much half the city.
Yep. That's okay. I don't need it anyways. Just a bunch of overpaid bureaucrats anyways.
And wants to be more paid.
I just got to orbit. Overshot it, but into orbit just on the booster. Very nice.
SSTO.
Single stage orbit, buddy. Turn on the lights. Okay, the lights aren't working. What's going on here?
Out of power? Not enough power.
My craft broke. What is going on?
My craft broke.
Oh,
Houston, we have a problem.
Yep.
Houston, are you there?
The interior lights are working.
Houston, I think we lost Houston. Damn it. Well, this man needs a coffee. Oh, we got separation. You actually did better than Starship.
Yep. Now watch this. Watch the booster. It might just fall like a missile straight down.
Really?
Yeah. Let's see if it does.
As soon as when you light the engine, or when you get far enough?
Just far enough away, it'll just go. It'll drop like something. Just grabbed it, hold it, and yanked it down.
They killed the Kraken, but they released a beast even worse.
Yeah, killed the Kraken. Now the Kraken's brother's out for revenge.
No, that's the Kraken's mother. I was gonna go to grab a coffee, but now you got me curious.
Let's see if it does it. It's funny when it does do it.
Just wham.
And it does it almost every time when you use fairings. Get a little bit of distance here.
That's beautiful view, though.
No, it's not going to do it. Oh, well.
But I think it's...
Oh, there it goes.
Now it's going down.
It's falling down. Go by. They haven't done anything with the call it, the re-entry. There's
No,
still no animations for that yet.
so you don't know when you do you're in re-entry.
Well, you can watch you can tell with your watching your speed drop in that, but other than that, you're kind of at the whims of the gauges because you got no visual indications that your heat shield's heating up or nothing. Now warp right here.
Well, it doesn't look that pretty from me. Why are you facing down? You're gonna fall.
You know, we're gonna whip her around here. There we go. Oh, we got a little framey there. That was bad.
9, 10 frame per second.
Yeah, did not like that.
But it looks like because the planet has a lot more to generate now than when you're on the ground. You know what I mean? Looks like your frame rate can drop a
I can't
lot.
stage.
What?
I can't stage.
Damn.
See that thing take off?
Oh, but you're on time wrap.
That's why I can't stage. I'm a dummy.
You're fired.
Yeah.
When you hit the ground, you go home.
Okay. Oh, see that? Parachutes did flip flop thing.
What? They doubled open?
No, they were out in the wind in the airstream, and then all of a sudden I moved the camera around, and then all of a sudden they were behind the capsule, going back into the airstream again. See, no,
It looked like two worms following you.
yeah. What do you guys use for your parachutes? Tube socks.
My wife's got some latex pants.
Yeah. Pantyhose. Right there.
That really looks terrible. They're
Yeah.
just wiggling.
Yeah, it's got the big wiggle going on. Oh, my phone.
Wiggle, 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 wiggle.
Okay, I gotta take this call. I'll be back.